Welcome to the AZM2 and AZ-Sci Test Coordinator training. During this training, we will walk you through all the information you need to know to help prepare your staff and students for these state assessments. The information in this training was prepared by the TUSD Assessment and Evaluation Department. Let's begin. We've received many questions about administering the statewide assessments this spring due to the challenges of COVID-19. We understand the concerns you have during this unprecedented time, and we will continue to provide any updates to you, the site test coordinators, as they become available following this training. Any additional updates will be provided via email. Keep in mind that the TUSD COVID test protocols can be found on the TAR under the AZM2, ACT, and AZ-Sci pages. It is very important to note that all Arizona statewide assessments must be administered in person. We understand that some parents do not feel comfortable with sending their child in for testing. However, ADE and TUSD recommend that schools communicate the importance of gathering data and information for each student. The ADE and TUSD also recommend that schools communicate specific processes and procedures used to administer the statewide assessment safely, such as social distancing, etc., and document these communications to parents and school communities. It is the expectation of ADE and the Arizona State Board of Education that every effort is made to test all students during the test window. The Spring 2021 test window for schools administering computer-based AZM2 reading and math assessments is April 5th through April 30th for 3rd grade students. The window has been extended to May 14th for all other grades testing. Likewise, the writing portion of the assessment must be completed by April 16th for 3rd grade and April 23rd for all other grades. These extended test dates are to allow for better social distancing during testing due to the COVID pandemic. 3rd grade dates were unable to be changed due to state reporting for the Move On When Reading program. For this reason, 3rd grade scheduling should take priority over all other grade levels. AIMS Science will not be administered this year. The AZ-Sci field test will take its place. The dates for AZ-Sci will be March 22nd through April 30th. These dates are a hard deadline and cannot be extended by the schools. All paper-based materials must also be entered into the DEI system by these deadlines. We will talk more about this process in later slides. It is important to know which students need to take which tests. Students in grades 3 through 8 and 10th grade cohort must take their grade level tests for both ELA and math. Students in grades 5, 8, and 11th grade cohort are the only grades that will take the AZ-Sci science test. Here is a list of the approximate times for each AZM2 test. However, students may take more time if needed. The math and reading tests have 2 parts. Students may take both parts in one day, or they can be split between 2 days. If a student starts on one part of the test, they must complete it the same day. They will not be able to continue that same test or part of a test the next day. Please watch the time before deciding to start a second test. Writing should be completed first and should be the only test given on that day. It is important to note that students taking the same grade level test within the same school do not have to test on the same day. For example, grade 3 Class A can test on day 1, and grade 3 Class B can take the same test on day 2. The 5th, 8th, and 11th grade cohort students will have 2 parts to complete for AZ-Sci. Just like AZM2, these sections may be taken in one day or split between 2 days. If students start a section, they must finish it by the end of the day. They will not be able to go back to that section the next day. Students must take Section 1 before taking Section 2. If a student is absent when the class takes Section 1, but is present when the class takes Section 2, they must take Section 1 while the rest of the class takes Section 2. If a student starts with Section 2, they may not be able to get back to Section 1 without first contacting the district testing coordinator. Most students will finish within the approximate timeframes provided by AZM2 and AZ-Sci. However, students must be given extra time if needed to complete the test, as long as the student completes the test by the end of the school day. Students must stay in the room until the testing session is complete. Bathroom breaks are allowed for 1 student at a time. Make sure to have a room set up for students who need more time once the testing session is over, as well as a procedure for getting students to that room. If a student takes so long to finish Part 1 that they will not have enough time for Part 2, they can be administered Part 2 as a makeup session. If it is lunchtime and a student has not completed the test, The student must continue working. Lunch may be brought to the student so they can eat while they finish their test. Students may not leave for a break until they have completed the assessment. Teachers who were placed in Tide last year will still have a Tide account. To log into the account, teachers will need to reset their password for the current school year. In order to do this, select Request a new one for this school year on the login page. The user will receive an email that must be activated within 15 minutes to reset their password. There will also be a series of security questions they will need to answer. It is a good idea for teachers to write down this information in case they forget, as they will need it to log in on testing day. Teachers will also need to go to azm2portal.org. Under the Educators and Test Administrators tab, they will find the Test Administrator Certification course. Anyone who will be administering the test will need to be certified. Make sure everyone hits the View/Print Certificate button, even if they do not need to print. Credit will not be given for taking this course until that button is pressed. You will need to check in Tide to make sure they have a letter Y next to their name. If a proctor is not certified, they will not be able to administer the AZM2 assessments. Pearson Access Next, otherwise known as PAN, is the site that will be used for AZ-Sci. PAN is Pearson's test management portal. Students will take the assessment in TestNav using a secure browser, while proctors will monitor the test in PAN. Test coordinators will use PAN to manage testing staff, student testing information, and retrieve testing reports. It is important as a test coordinator that you know and understand your testing duties. Being organized and knowing your deadlines will help to make the test days run smoothly. As a testing coordinator, you must be familiar with the AZM2 portal and the Pearson Access Next sites. These sites are where you will need to add and monitor teachers and students throughout the testing windows. There are PowerPoint tutorials on how to add students and staff for both sites that can be found on the Test Coordinator Team site. These sites will also be used to mark student accommodations and enter paper test answers. There are several user guides and directions you will need to review and use to inform your staff. You will need to collect a test security agreement from everyone in your building that might be in a classroom during testing. Please keep these in a secure location for 6 years. The principal's copy needs to be sent to Michelle Sigafus, either by school mail or email at michelle.sigafus@tusd1.org. Test coordinators with support from their administration should create a testing schedule that works best for their school. Keep in mind the testing deadlines are hard deadlines and cannot be adjusted. Due to the COVID pandemic, some test dates have been extended. As mentioned before, third grade testing must keep the original schedule due to move on when reading deadlines. If your site has third grade, please prioritize testing for that group. All paper answers must be transferred into the Data Entry Interface System, otherwise known as DEI, by the highlighted dates. The Arizona Department of Education has provided a mandatory training video for all test administrators who are any adults that will be in the room during testing. This training will be offered in True North Logic. Test administrators will receive a certificate of completion from this training that they should print and return to you. This training is in addition to the AZM2 portal certification course mentioned earlier. Testing coordinators are responsible for ensuring all staff at your school complete both trainings. Make sure to include any staff who will be administering an assessment. It is important to train more staff than needed in case a test administrator is absent on testing day. District subs may not proctor state assessments, but can be used to cover another class while the classroom teacher administers the assessment. Additionally, make sure your staff knows the test schedule, testing protocols, how to access Tide and PAN, accommodations, reporting suspected test improprieties, proper resources, and when or how long stretch breaks can occur. Test proctors need to be an employee of the school. Parent or community volunteers, student teachers, guest speakers, or daily substitutes may not be in the room during testing. It is up to the discretion of the school as to if long-term subs will proctor the assessment. All test proctors must be trained on security and administration procedures and have signed the test security agreement. Make sure each test administrator receives testing directions. These scripted directions must be read word for word. Test administrators should have a chance ahead of time to read these instructions so they understand the protocols. It is important to note that any adult in a room during testing is considered a test administrator and must have the proper paperwork and training. It is important to know and follow all the rules of testing. It is unethical and will be viewed as a violation for any person to discuss any test items, electronically capture images of any part of the test, allow students access to any test content prior to testing, allow students to share information during test administration, read any part of the test to students except as indicated in the test administrator directions or as part of an accommodation, instruct students to go back and reread or redo responses after they have finished their test, influence students' responses by making any kind of gestures while students are taking the test, review students' responses, or read and review students' scratch paper. Make sure that all of your test administrators have read the AZM2 and AZ-SCI directions prior to testing and that they follow all the protocols listed in the directions. Universal accommodations can be given to any student. Examples of universal accommodations include a familiar test administrator, a special pencil or grip, glasses or contacts, reverse contrast, a distraction-free testing environment, or small group testing. Having the writing, math, or science tests read aloud are also universal accommodations. However, the reading test may not be read to students. Universal accommodations may be specifically listed on a student's IEP or 504, but for testing purposes, they may be used by any student requesting them. If you have any questions or need any clarifications about accommodations, please visit the Accommodations section on the TAR. Some students require a paper test. To receive a paper test accommodation, a student must have it written in their IEP or 504 plan under testing accommodations. If you have a student who requires a paper test, contact the district testing coordinator right away so one can be ordered. Once the student has finished the paper test, authorized school personnel will need to enter the responses in the Data Entry Interface, or DEI, before the end of the testing window for that subject. Be sure to keep in mind TUSD COVID testing protocols when handling paper assessments. Prior to testing, make sure that your computer labs and laptops have all the needed equipment in good working order. This includes mice and headphones. Make sure all students have been entered into TIDE, all teachers have taken both required trainings, and any student accommodations have been entered. Testing tickets need to be printed and separated by student testing groups. To make sorting easier, students can be rostered in TIDE or grouped in PAN. Each testing room should be stocked with testing supplies such as scratch paper, pencils, dictionary, or thesauri as needed, and a Do Not Disturb sign for each door. It is also a good idea to have students bring a book in case they finish early. Please remember TUSD COVID testing protocols when providing and collecting supplies, as well as cleaning devices and supplies between student use. If directed by the principal, teacher technology liaisons can help to make sure the labs are ready and that teachers know how to access and use technology for testing. Listed here are possible ways the TTL might be able to assist with the testing process. Remember, it is up to the principal's discretion as how much and where the TTL should support testing coordinators. As the testing coordinator, it will be your responsibility to add new students. Any student who starts after January 28th will need to be entered into TIDE, and any student who starts after February 22nd will need to be entered into Pearson Access Next or PAN. Usually these students have moved from one Arizona school to another. This means the student's information needs to be transferred. In PAN, there are more steps that include numerous requests, so please do not wait until the last minute to add new students. It is a good idea to check for new students every couple of weeks, so you do not become overwhelmed with adding several new students at one time. Trainings on how to input student information into TIDE and Pearson can be accessed on the Testing Coordinator's team's site. Practice tests are available for students. Students will not receive a score after taking a practice test. These tests help students become familiar with computer-based testing and the different formats of each test, as well as the questions and tools available. The AZM2 practice test is available through azm2portal.org. Log on and select Take the Sample Test. Teachers can also administer a mock test after they complete the portal certification course, and students will need their test tickets to sign in. Students should also learn how to use the equation editor. They will need to be able to use this tool to answer some of the math questions. There are two places this can be found. The first is next to the Sample Test button. and the second one, which is a more in-depth tutorial, can be found under the Student and Families Resource button under Resources, then Support Materials. The science practice test is available through TestNav at home.testnav.com. Students must select Arizona, Sample Tests, then AZ-Sci Practice Test. The District Alternative Education Program, otherwise known as DAPE, is the suspension program in the district. Students who are long-term suspended come and go from DAPE on a continuous basis. Per leadership, DAPE staff will contact the schools who have one or more students in attendance during the AZM2 window. DAPE will ask the school to make arrangements with the parents for the students to return to campus to take the AZM2 test. This usually involves 2 to 3 days of returning to campus. Alternatively, schools can arrange to come to the DAPE site to test the student, but must provide the computer and staff to proctor the test. DAPE staff will have no proctor training and no computers that are test ready. Core Plus is an academic intervention program for 6th graders. Students attend Core Plus the entire school year. Consequently, they will take the AZM2 test at their Core Plus site. Direct Link is an educational program for homebound students. If you have a student that is part of the Direct Link homebound program, their profile will have a red schoolhouse with a white cross on it. Please make sure to contact Trevia Heath, the Direct Link coordinator, to make sure the student will be tested if possible. You can call her at 520-225-2696 or email trevia.heath@tusd1.org. Once a student starts a test session, that student must complete the session by the end of the day. The student must submit the first session before they can start a new session. Do not approve a student for more than one session at a time. Your test administrators must read the scripted direction out loud at the beginning of each session. Your test administrators must actively monitor the testing room at all times by moving around the room. By actively moving around, the test administrator can ensure students are using appropriate test material and resources. Backpacks and other electronics need to be completely away from the computer and the area where students are testing. Students must be allowed to work at their own pace. Most importantly, the test administrator should keep TUSD COVID testing protocols in mind as they monitor testing. If a student does not follow testing protocol, is disruptive, or is possibly involved in a test impropriety, the student must still be allowed to complete their test. They may be removed from their current testing environment if needed, but sent to another place where they can complete their testing session with another test administrator. If a student is disruptive, it is up to the school site team to decide on disciplinary actions. If the student is involved with possible cheating, let them continue the test and investigate the situation without disruption, then contact the district testing coordinator. Individual students are allowed to use the restroom or see the nurse. Stretch breaks are also allowed on an individual student basis as needed. Students may not talk, use their cell phones, or leave the room during their stretch break. Group or class stretch breaks are not allowed. Students cannot be stopped from testing by the test administrator for a stretch break. Significant breaks are not allowed. Once a class leaves the testing room, the test session will be over. This will exclude any emergency or other unusual situation that occurs during testing. Students who leave school before completing a particular test session are ineligible to continue that same test session upon their return to school. A student who returns to school during the test window is allowed to begin a session that was never started. Test administrators are responsible for ensuring the safety of students during testing breaks and when students leave the classroom. They should always adhere to the TUSD COVID testing protocols. Prior to the end of the test window, verify that all students have completed testing and all student responses from special paper version tests have been entered into DEI or TestNav 8. All writing makeup tests and DEI entries must be completed by April 16th for 3rd grade and April 23rd for all other grades. All AZ-Sci and ELA makeup tests and DEI entries must be completed by April 30th. Finally, all math makeup tests and DEI entries must be completed by April 30th for 3rd grade and May 14th for all other grades. Please collect and destroy all scratch paper and testing tickets. Directions and test manuals can be recycled. Please refer to TUSD COVID testing protocols for how to handle paper materials. Once students have completed their tests, they may read quietly. They may not use any electronic devices, including the computers or laptops. Once the testing session has been completed, students who have not finished may continue to test. For any student that must move computers, rooms, or test administrators, that student must pause their test session before moving, and the original test administrator should end the session. The new test administrator will have to start a new test session. The student will have to sign in to the new test session, and the new test administrator will approve the student for testing. If a student needs more time and will continue working on the same computer with the same test administrator, that student can continue to test without interruption. Keep in mind TUSD COVID testing protocols if a student needs to move to a different device. If you have technical issues, the best place to start is the TUSD TS Help Desk. However, there may be times you need to contact the district testing coordinator. If there is a test administration issue or a testing violation, contact the testing coordinator right away. Don't wait. The best way to reach Michelle Sigovus during testing is via email or text, as she is often out of the office. Please leave a message with your name, site, and a brief description of the reason why you called. Being knowledgeable and prepared before testing starts will help to ease stress for both students and test administrators. Please review this presentation as often as you need. It will be available on the team's site as well as the TAR. Other presentations are also located there to help support your coordination, including a staff training PowerPoint and information on how to add staff and students to the testing portals. Thank you for your commitment as a TUSD test coordinator. You all work tirelessly to make sure all the proctors and students are ready come test day, and you do an amazing job of solving site issues along the way. Keep up the great work.